We are back again, folks. I love visual aids, but I saw this movie in theaters, so I do not have a box to have as a visual aid tying in for the thumbnail for this particular review. But I do have a movie ticket. I went and saw a 3-hour, well, actually 2-hour and 52-minute film, The Odyssey. Okay, that's good for a thumbnail. This is outrageously expensive to go to a movie. I haven't been to the theater in over a year. A small popcorn and a tall can of Lagunitas IPA was $25, plus $16 for a matinee showing. Outrageous. So, The Odyssey, directed by Christopher Nolan. His last film, Oppenheimer, won Best Director and Best Picture. And I have reviewed that right here on the channel. This particular film I saw in standard format. I did not go to the Galaxy Theater in Riverbank. I went to the old Regal Beagle right there on McHenry. Huge shout out to my buddy Jose that attended the film with me, and also a former Regal Theater employee. 2026. This movie was Christopher Nolan's largest and most expensive film that he has made to date. $250 million budget. They started planning this in 2024, shortly after Oppenheimer won Best Picture. Not my favorite film from Nolan, Oppenheimer, that is. This is probably one of my more well-regarded films in the last 4 films that he's done. This movie is a darling of audiences and critics on a $250 million budget. Year to date, it has grossed $988 million at the box office. It has led to a renaissance of film projection, whether it be in a 35 millimeter print or a 70 millimeter print. There's only like 50 theaters in the US that can project in 70 millimeter IMAX. And I went down a rabbit hole about IMAX doesn't have these parts available anymore, and they had to put out an all-points bulletin to gather enough IMAX projectors to pirate parts and assemble 50 or so working projectors so this movie can be screened. I've also read stories where the 70 millimeter prints in certain theaters, the projectionist equipment breaks down often, and it is a nightmare, so I just saw it in standard digital format, and it was fine. I did not write down who did the soundtrack, but it has that very driving soundtrack similar to Oppenheimer and I believe Tenet. I think he's a frequent collaborator with Nolan from what I can remember. It has a very foreboding film. It has a very foreboding feel throughout the film. I love the way that Nolan captures nighttime shots. There's a lot of indoor shots with oil lamps, dark, shadowy. Lots of A-listers in this film. Matt Damon, obviously, starring. Tom Holland, Robert Pattinson, just to name a few. Anne Hathaway. Casting took place around 2024. It filmed throughout Italy, Morocco, Greece, Scotland. It is an adaptation of The Odyssey by Homer, which is an ancient Grecian poem. I do not know a lot about my Greek mythology. Need to dig back into the old world history, so I'm not an expert. I'm not even going to attempt to get into any of that. Interesting factoid per Wikipedia. The film Troy came out in 2004, and Nolan was originally set to direct it. However, the directorship would end up going to Wolfgang Peterson, and Nolan was quoted as saying that he felt that he was in way over his head at that point in his career to even direct an epic like Troy. I believe that Brad Pitt's in Troy, if I'm not mistaken. The year after Troy, he would go on to direct Batman Begins, which I think I've reviewed all the Nolan Batman films here on the channel in the last year or two. Those are all top tier 5 out of 5 films from what my memory can recollect. This movie has a 94% critic average on Rotten Tomatoes. 97% audience score. I did not make a note of how many people reported in that average. IMDb, very high score, 8.5 out of 10. Like I mentioned, it is a much more well-regarded Nolan film. I would say out of his last 4 films or so, they've all just been kind of for me. But I am going to be on the higher side of a 4 out of 5. It is not my favorite film, which is regarded for 5 out of 5s, but it was masterfully shot. I like period films. I like action films. I felt like there was some David Lynch inspired vibes for Hades in the underworld, and the way he kind of portrayed the undead or the dead in the past lives being portrayed, just kind of a very Lynchian feel. Don't know if that was kind of his inspiration. What I did not like is the very first 20, 30 minutes of the film. I felt myself getting kind of antsy and kind of not really focusing. And as time progressed, I found myself drawn into the film and enjoyed it thoroughly. It was very entertaining. The 3 hours just flew by, and I overall enjoyed the film. I don't I don't know why I was kind of on the fence between 4 and 5. It was never going to be a 5 for me. I feel like when the movies are so overhyped, even though it was Kodak film stock, 70 millimeter IMAX, all that fun marketing stuff drawing me into kind of a more nostalgic feel. Is it Ben-Hur? No. Is it Lord of the Rings? Also no. It is an epic film for sure. I'm sure I have met many people that have said they've seen this movie multiple times in theaters at $16 a ticket at the old Regal. No wonder people don't really go to the movies anymore. Everyone's just going to wait for it to come out in streaming. And my buddy Jose made that remark that he would watch it again, except for it would be on some sort of streaming service. I don't know if I would own a physical copy of this movie. It was good, but I feel like, again, it gets so hyped up. I'm sure it'll probably win Best Picture, but it was just not my favorite film. But it was enjoyable. Great popcorn flick. That's all that I really have to add. I thought everyone was good. Not much more to add. I'm glad I saw it on the big screen. I don't know if I would have splurged to go drive all the way to the Bay Area or Sacramento to see it on a film stock 70 millimeter print. That's all for today, folks. Thanks for watching. Get out there and watch some movies. Until next time, we'll see you then.